Pleasure to be here. So yeah, welcome everyone. As Enrique already did the introduction, so this is a model for remote work that was inspired by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm just gonna get straight into it. Before we dive deep, I'm gonna quickly introduce myself. So my name is Dima Syrotkin. You can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's the last social media network I use. I think everything else kind of already signed off from, fortunately or unfortunately. Briefly about myself. So I like to say that I'm weirded out by the thought that I'm alive. I think that yeah, I find this surprising, kind of what's going on. So I feel like whenever I stop and look around, this is really strange. And also you can see here I wrote Homo Deus. So I really these days I entertain this thought that things are getting weirder and weirder with the way technology is progressing, and it just makes me think, like how would the future look like? And this is kind of reference to a book by Yuval Noah Harari that I would recommend people to read if you haven't had a chance. What else about me? I read ferociously, and I rank and review books. So feel free to check that on LinkedIn. My three top interests are education, politics, and longevity. And I'm known as the CEO of a small Finnish startup called Panda Training. So that's my primary thing. I'm also, as you see, involved in hacking HR. So I'm one of the liaisons for Helsinki. I'm advising a growth club startup, which is connecting founders and helping them to, through coaching, commit to different actions. I am soon to be a PhD candidate in Aalto University here in Helsinki. So we'll see which topics we'll be exploring, but I'm really interested in self-management and teal. And lastly, I'm also a member of Global Shapers, which is a community by World Economic Forum. So let's get into it. First of all, I actually wanted to make this into an actual workshop instead of just a lecture. So let's try to do it. So please open Slido in your browser. And if you can, open these 3 tabs. You would need 3 tabs for 2 exercises and 1 for Q&A. So open in your browser sli.do. So it's the name of the website. And then it will ask you to enter the code of the event. And the codes will be always here somewhere in the corner, so you will always see them. But for the first exercise, feel free to just enter this 66481. So I hope you're able to access it. Feel free to say hi or something. I can see that there, so I can see that that's working. So again, basically just open your browser like Chrome or anything and enter sli.do. And then the code. So what is remote work hierarchy of needs? So we face the question in my team that, like remote work is a lot more than it just seems. Like it just seems like, well, okay, well, we have the internet, we can connect online. But I would argue it's more than that. And that's what I wanted to explore with you. The first level is pretty simple. Like I think what enables remote work is simply internet, and that's kind of obvious. So let's not spend too much time about it. Oh yeah, I see your hellos there. So awesome. I saw 2 of people. So at least 2 people could get on Slido. So good. That somehow it works. Thanks. Awesome. So now this feels like a workshop. Okay, going forward, the second layer is the tools. And tools is also something pretty simple. We all know about it, like Slack, Zoom. This 4 are my favorites. So Zoom, Slack, Miro, and Drive. And by the way, I know about Zoom's security issues. I still like it for the fact that it actually is very stable, but nonetheless. So let's drive straight into it. I don't want to spend too much time on tools, but now we have this 2 minutes, and I see a lot of people already in the platform, in the Slido. So right there, your favorite remote tools, and do it in the format name of the tool and plus 1 sentence use case. So for example, Miro, collaborative visualization, in example using virtual post-its. So that's one of my favorite tools. We just used it today with my team, and I just love it. So feel free to share it in Slido, and maybe other people will share it. Will pick up something for themselves. And yeah, I'll just give you 2 minutes. So let's keep it short. Tools is simple. We all know tools. Nothing may be that interesting, but who knows? Maybe we'll discover something new. In terms of Miro, I just just today kind of like did it my team, and it worked fantastically well. Where I feel like it worked better than traditional post-its, because the traditional ones, they always fall off the wall. Okay, so I see already things coming in. So Zoom, Microsoft Team, WhatsApp. So that's pretty traditional, makes sense. Trello, yeah, Trello. At least for myself, I always we get started with it, but I can never like pick it up. But nonetheless, WhatsApp, quick team sharing, Zoom, Slack, and Google. Yeah, okay. So nothing out of the ordinary yet. WebEx, okay. Video conferencing. I should try that. I actually didn't use that. Miro, okay. So someone else used Miro too. Adobe Connect. Sounds cool. Zoom, Jostle. Cool. Okay, so the 2 minutes should be almost up. So if look at this, and this is kind of like a warm-up exercise for ourselves. Maybe some of these tools would actually, maybe this is something you would find interesting. So Slack, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, hate Trello. Okay, someone out there hates Trello. This is Zoom, Hollywood Squares, face visibility, Meet limited face visibility. Okay. Zoom. Okay, it seems like a lot of people like Zoom. I've heard that they actually were banned in New York, if I'm not mistaken, because of security issues. Nonetheless, okay, so let's move forward. So the first two layers are still pretty simple, and this is the first things we think about. But let's go further. So I would argue that after that, and some organizations have already thought about it, some are only starting to think about it, some would start thinking in a month, maybe, once they are done with this first firefighting and sort of like panic, frankly speaking. So the third layer is policies and processes. And one example I wanted to give is from this guy. So I don't know how many of you know him. His name is Patrick Collison, and he's the CEO of Stripe, a $9 billion valuation startup. And he says when they are one of the first tech firms that actually moved online, that have a whole department that works remotely, and that's quite unique, because Microsoft, Amazon, all of these guys, they actually they were still pretty mainstream up until the coronavirus outbreak. And one of the things he said is that written culture is really the key, because so many things are being missed. When we're not in the office, when there's no chit chat, so much information doesn't flow. And making people to actually write notes, making people to share the information has been key for their company. So that's just one example. And just for you to think, whenever I think about culture, for example, I think about processes. Like, what does this mean in practice? Like, what does this really mean? What do people have to do? And the second exercise, so log into the second room from Slido. You can just go back or open another tab and type the event code 12253 and think for 2 minutes. So for now, just think. Don't write anything. What is the number one policy or process that was effective for your organization, or something that your organization you think should implement? So think about that. I'll give you 2 minutes. Think about that, and after that we would quickly share it and maybe hopefully learn from each other. So yeah, I'll give you let's say 30 more seconds, something like that. As you see, I'm a bit approximate this time. Hope you would forgive me. And by the way, just to entertain you, I'm originally from Ukraine, but I live in Finland, so you can see the darkness approaching. So that's why I assume many of you might be in the North America Um, yeah, so now you had some time to think. Now write it down. So try to keep it short, not too short, so not just one word, but also not too long. So just write 2, 3 sentences. I'll give you 3 minutes for that. So just 2, 3 sentences. So you see that I'm a millennial. I wrote TLDR means too long didn't read. So try to avoid the too long didn't read scenario and try to avoid too much information. Okay, so lessons learned after action reports. Okay, that's pretty cool. That sounds like postmortems. File management needs to be thought of, and also how we share information. Okay, yeah, I think, I think information is one of the key things. Like, how do we really make sure that people that everything necessary flows? Expectation of video usage in every meeting, both internal and customer facing, to enhance interaction and communication. So that's also, yeah, I think that's a good point, because I guess many of you have seen the memes online of like, hey, I didn't hear you. Yeah, what did you say? Your mic is on mute. Digital communication, how we communicate, an example, awareness of impacts of language, empathy, expectations, etc. Yeah, that's also very true. You know, what is getting lost when we communicate online? Communicating specific process of documenting productivity and creating productivity tools for managers to monitor daily team productivity. Feedback sessions, remote working policy and procedure, checklist and emergency contact info. Pre-mortem, what do we not want to be meeting about at the end of this project? Document sharing tools, cool. So look at the list, and by the way, like in Slido, I don't know if you notice, you can also upvote things. So then they, you know, things that are most liked, they will go up. So starting to wear PPE. I know what PPE means. I don't remember the full abbreviation, but I assume everyone else also knows it. The protection gear, protection cloth. Awesome. Okay, so once we are done, you know, maybe look through this list, through the Slido, and see maybe something you would still want to pick up, you know, because this is some things that I guess, wow, I love this, being human. Someone wrote being human. I'm gonna like that. I'm gonna upvote that. Let's not forget that. Lessons learned after action reports. I notice a lot of like postmortems and like reflection. I like that. Okay, so I'm slowly gonna move on, but feel free to kind of like continue using the Slido and continue using that space if you wanna like still share or read or upload the comments of others. So yeah, that's policies and processes. Now, I think the main contribution from my side as a soon-to-be PhD researcher and the CEO of the company that helps our clients, like that's partly what we help them with. So I would argue, first of all, that remote work in many ways is about self-management. So I would say that, you know, when people work remotely, we suddenly need to give them space to actually make their own decisions. And that means that we need to trust them. And that's really hard. So suddenly, you know, we can't control them as much. We can't, you know, look over their shoulder like we could in the office, perhaps. And one of the things that I would argue is that we need coaching. We need to help people to adjust to this new reality. More than that, we need something like micro coaching. So kind of like something smaller, something that we can actually scale to everyone in the organization, because traditionally coaching is only something for executives. Communities of practice is another big one. So that's another thing that we've seen work wonders for the clients we worked with. And lastly, data collection. So knowing what's really going on in your organization, knowing, you know, how are the people feeling, what's really the main challenges, you know, because we might assume it's tools, but quite often it's behavior change, it's conflicts in the workplace, many other things. And a little bit like how we realize that, and you know, how we realize that for our clients. And feel free to steal this. So, you know, this is just something we do, but maybe this inspires you to do something in your own organizations. So we do this micro coaching for our clients, where, you know, it's similar to normal coaching, but we do it via text, and that's weird, but it helps to scale it from handling 10, 20 people per coach to up to 50. And that's something you can do as well, and the beauty of it is if you have an external partner, not just your boss, but someone that can't fire the people, so to say, there's a huge amount of and information that you can actually pick up. And the fact that it's done via text allows us to collect this data. And sort of what we do is that we help people, we help to spark these communities of practice. So after every session, after every coaching session, we ask people to share their goals. We ask them to share the success stories, or even something fun, and it's surprising how well it works, where people suddenly are like, oh wow, you have the similar goal, let's do this together. Or they're like, oh, you have that goal, I can actually help you, and yeah, so that worked wonders from what we've seen. And lastly, data collection can actually be very unintrusive. So far, we've coached a lot of people, and not a single one of them in some of the biggest organizations in the world, like Universal Pictures, Bayer, SAP, like not a single one of them said no, like I don't want to do this, because for them it's a way to express themselves. It's a way to tell the management no what's actually not going well. And I think like this, especially this like being able to scale coaching to everyone and collecting the data, I think is beautiful, and something that more organizations should need to do. And lastly, we also did this chatbot capability where we were like, okay, how do we enable it to scale even further? And chatbot is one of the ideas that we came up with. And currently we're testing this, free chatbot to support remote work. So we're currently signing up the first 100 early adopters, and we already have people who signed up from organizations like Google, Cisco, United Nations, a number of universities like IPMO in Moscow, Tampere University from Finland. So if you feel like you are struggling with remote work, or some of your people might be struggling, feel free to sign up, and we can talk to you either how to spread the word in your organizations, or how to help you yourself. And it's completely free. So we're doing this completely free. This is just to help companies to transition, because we see so many people struggling, and we essentially think that using our coaching expertise and psychology frameworks, we can code something that can actually help people at scale. So feel free to follow the link, and you'll find out more there. And this is the link to sign up. And you can also see here my LinkedIn name. So feel free to connect if there's anything that you would want to ask. So we still have maybe 5 minutes. I'm gonna briefly kind of come back to the first sort of slide, or you could call it the last slide as well. Are there any questions out there? So feel free to type in Slido the last Q&A code, 82367. And yeah, let me know if there are any questions. I can still hopefully answer them. And yeah, meanwhile, let me see if there's anything that is useful that I could answer. I'm gonna wait for a minute for the questions to pop in. So it's Slido 82367.
Dima, we also have the LinkedIn Live, just in case you want to collect questions via LinkedIn Live. You can do that as well.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Are there any questions? Because I can't both share the screen and see it. So do you wanna share a question or two if there's anything?
I haven't seen any, but if anybody, because you've been using Slido, but if anybody has a question that you want to share via LinkedIn Live, please do so. We only have 2 or 3 minutes left.
Yeah, definitely. So I think definitely, I guess I can quickly sort of hang on it and sort of add a couple more thoughts. One thing that we've seen in terms of, for example, data collection is that using this sort of external provider to talk to your employees, to understand what's really going on there. And yeah, I see the question about data protection of individuals, so companies don't retaliate. So this has been really surprising that actually in most of the cases people, so we ask them in the beginning, like, hey, is this okay that we collect the data? And then every time we use their quote, and by the way, so part of the reason why we do this via text, for example, the coaching and the data collection, is because you can directly quote the people. And so far, not a single person actually, not a single person said like, no, we don't want to do that, because for them, it's a way to express themselves. And some of the issues that we've seen pop up are things like, discrimination at workplace, bad leadership, people saying, like, I really need to learn this new skill, but I don't really want to tell anyone that, like, don't want to admit that I lack that competence. Like, AI is a big topic. So someone asked me to share the website and LinkedIn profile. So here's the link to the chatbot sign up, and my website and everything else you can find through LinkedIn. So there is the LinkedIn. Can you list down employee engagement tools in this current scenario? So I'm not sure I understand the question very well, but I would say sort of like in terms of what we've been doing and what I was listing. So I think, again, so communities, so really making sure that people can exchange information and creating this intimate communities. For us, what worked is really nudging people every time, like, hey, can you share your goal? Hey, do you have anything? So that's why communities don't work, because if you don't nudge them, nothing really usually happens. And second of all, this data collection, and if you can make it transparent, make sure that everyone sees what you're collecting and what the findings are. What is the biggest challenge you faced when coaching? Oh my God, I mean, coaching is really, really tough. I guess the biggest challenge has been when you want to tackle several layers of the hierarchy, because when we work with many people in the organization, and we start noticing patterns, things that are not individual challenges, but collective challenges. And then we start looking at them and we're like, damn, like, how do we affect the whole organization if we're only talking to one department? So especially the projects where we could talk to the CEO, to the middle management, and to the field managers were most impactful. And also in terms of like employee engagement, so I think the chatbot has been great as well. We just initially we ask them simple questions with like quick replies where they see like options, like it can be even something absurd like, have you washed your hands today, and then people just like, yes, no, whatever. So it already serves as a data collection tool for the management. And then once they answer, then you kind of drag them in with more complex coaching questions where you actually want them to reflect and you actually want them to write down things. So yeah, unfortunately we are out of time, but I hope this was at least a little bit helpful. I wanted to bring the examples from my own company because I think there's a lot you can steal and a lot you can learn. And hope our free giveaway is also something that could be useful. And yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you so much.